Don't blink or you'll miss it. Unless, of course, you're watching from a new angle on the Maui News Sports Report. I'm Rob Colias. He's Jordan Helly. We are back to kind of wrap up spring sports for you this week. We'll have a little bit more in a couple weeks on our year-end edition of the Maui News Sports Report. But, Jordan, the high school season ended with a bang, with a couple impressive second-place finishes for the MIL in boys track. A Baldwin team that scores 75 points. That would have won 50 of the previous 54 state titles, except for just an unbelievably deep, record-setting team performance by Kamehameha Kapalama.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, just tough luck for the Bears. It was really a two-horse race on the boys' side. You figure they bring back a ton of those points, basically 66 of them. Kainoa Tom, they're very accomplished pole vaulter, won a state championship as a junior, departs, but they bring back Kaho'ohanohano Davis, who won the long jump, was right there in a couple of the other jumps in the 110 hurdles. You look at some other guys, 3 out of their 4 top pole vaulters. Kieran Mateo comes back for them. The Bears are going to be right back there again. 3 top 2 finishes in the last 4 years for the Baldwin Bears on the boys' side. Yeah, just a really impressive finish in what was a pretty impressive showing for the MIL across the board. Some state championships, Emerson LeBird, Ava Shipman, Maya Reynolds, some really, really impressive showing for the MIL as a whole.
No question about it. It was really a special atmosphere. Maya Reynolds wins the first state title of any kind for her school, Kihei Charter. How cool is that to be able to say for the rest of your life? She's only a sophomore. Ava Shipman, 3 medals, including the title in the 1,500 meters. She's only a sophomore for Seabury Hall. And, you know, all the Bears points, I mean, even if they had kind of maxed out, they weren't going to beat Kamehameha Kapalama. But as you mentioned, La'akea Kaho'ohanohano Davis wins the long jump on just a couple jumps, doesn't take any more jumps on Saturday, finishes 3rd in the triple in the same scenario, finishes 6th in the high jump in an event he gets hurt in, and then he's leading the next day, he's leading the 110 high hurdles before falling on the 7th hurdle in what would have been another win. Kieran and Leighton Mateo back in the 300 hurdles as the state champion, very impressive. And this Baldwin team will contend again next year, no question.
Yeah, Bailey Kalpwiki, the sprinter.
Bailey Kalpwiki.
He was as exciting as they came, the 100 and the 200 state champ. He's back as well next year. So they're loaded coming back next year. That might be the payoff year here for the Bears track team once again.
Crazy loaded. Bailey, the 100 and 200 champion. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. Jordan, you were on Oahu for a very special volleyball story.
Yeah, the Hana Dragons, 80 kids. They've got 80 kids in high school at Hana High and Elementary, and they make it to a state championship match, which is the stuff, I mean, movies are made out of, and especially with the story. I'm for sure most everybody out there familiar with the tragic ending to their season last year, the heartbreaking passing of Isaiah Puakima. They could have easily been in the state championship match last year in a match where Seabury nearly won that one. This year they run into a buzzsaw. That was Hawaii Baptist. It was even better. This might have been one of their better teams, and they've won 6 straight D2 state championships on the volleyball level. But the Hana Dragons really kind of captured the hearts and minds of everybody across the state. So many people from different schools were so impressed with that team, particularly Jordan Redo Rose, their setter, who was as dynamic as a player as you would find across any roster in this state, Division I or Division II. He and Noel Ho'opai Feliciano, the 2 big seniors who depart from this program. Those are 2 huge holes to fill. But they do bring back 6 out of the 8 players on this roster. They'll be primed to be back in a similar position next year. Kimo Helikai did just a magnificent job in his first year taking over for Manny Oliveira as the head coach. Those 2 guys deserve so much credit for where they've taken this program, and those kids and that community rallying behind them. Runner-up finish, they get to take a trophy back home to East Maui, put up another banner out there in Kanakaole Gymnasium, and one of the best stories, I think, to come out of this sports year.
And Jordan, no question about it. And let me just add, this is the reason why we have Division II. And there is I need no other example better than this one, a special chance for the community to rally around their boys volleyball team That when it used to be played in the fall, that was the homecoming sport. But special kudos to Hana, unbelievable, and just so well deserved. You're right. And Jordan, in baseball, tough starts for all three MIL teams, but they bounced back.
Yeah, really tough draws, particularly for the MIL champions, Baldwin D1, Molokai in D2. They finished in 5th place in both the Bears and the Farmers. Maui High finishes tied for 7th. Everybody drops their opening game with rebounds with 2 impressive showings to round out the year. Some guys who really opened eyes. Kingsley Bilal impressed a ton of people over on Oahu. He was really a guy that you heard his name mentioned a bunch. Hit probably the hardest ball I saw all weekend off the top of the wall in right center at Murakami Stadium. The Baldwin Bears, tough draw to open up. 2 resounding victories for 5th place. Molokai, same thing against defending Division II state champs in Kamehameha, Hawaii. We saw impressive showings as well by the eventual Players of the Year here in the MIL. Mikey Hooper had a solid end to his career for the Baldwin Bears. And on the other side for Molokai, a similar performance for a guy that Mikey knows pretty well.
Yeah, they grew up together. Hanalei Dudoa Enos just lifelong friends with Mikey Hooper, who moved to Baldwin just before his high school career, and they grew up on Molokai, and they're headed to the same junior college in Arizona, a Wood Bat League, where I think they're both guys. I mean, Hanalei Dudoa Enos has good size, 6'4", 230 pounds, has a mean fastball. Mikey Hooper, I believe, is more of a shortstop in college than a pitcher, although he's a good pitcher. I think both those guys have draft potential. And speaking of draft potential, Kingsley Bilal and Riley, Kingsley's only a current junior, and Riley Wydell, both all-state selections by various media outlets out there. And so good for the MIL. It really shows kind of how deep talent was in the MIL this year, no doubt about it. And Jordan, softball, speaking of talent, there's one young lady at Baldwin High School who really opened some eyes at the state softball tournament.
Yeah, Navai Kaupe, who's kind of been on the scene since she was part of that Little League team that made it to the West Regionals when she was a 12-year-old. She's just a sophomore, and that program has produced some big-time college athletes, the Baldwin softball program, and the MIL as a whole, really, when you include Lahaina Luna and some of the other programs around. She's going to be the next in line. Yep. 6 for 9 in 3 games, 2 home runs. She was one of the best players across the board, and she's just a sophomore. She'll be going on to big things here in a few years, and the Bears, I'm sure, very, very grateful that she's back for another couple of years, and she's the kind of player that could perhaps lead Baldwin to heights that we've seen them before. Yeah, and they were 6th this year. Of course, they've got a couple state titles in their history under the Souzas, but a special kind of year this year. We'll be back in a week or two to kind of wrap all that up. But that's a report for this week, and send us your bobbleheads.